The following contains full spoilers for the events of Final Fantasy XIII-1. Please check the description for more information. Final Fantasy XIII-2, Fragments Before. Part 2, Teacher and Children. Chapter 2. The first one to notice something had been out of place was Mackie. They cleaned up the corpses of the exterminated monsters and made emergency repairs to the damaged buildings. It was already late evening by the time they ate dinner. Of course, the topic of discussion at the dinner table was the monster attack. As Serah spoke of the event from start to finish, Mackie nodded, satisfied.
Just as I thought. It was you who used it, wasn't it, Serah?
Mackie explained that the machines in the warehouse were set up so that you could tell if someone had used them even from somewhere far away. Apparently you could tell if they were being mishandled or even if they had been broken by someone.
Because aren't they dangerous? If the kids had messed around with them, adults only come up to the field and their eyes don't reach the inside of the workshop.
Also, the prototype monster-repelling machine hadn't been mishandled or damaged, but rather started according to procedure. Then, Mackie recalled that he had spoken to Serah 2 days ago, who happened to be passing by, about the prototype.
If it was Serah who knew of the monster-repelling machine, that started the machine, then I thought things had to be bad. So we quickly got on the air bike and hurried back here.
It was a good thing we made it, laughed Snow in relief.
I'm sorry, we should have been left more people behind. It was our fault.
Not at all. I was careless too. It wasn't just me or Snow, but everyone feels like that, right?
It was just the other day when the nests of the monsters that appeared around the settlement had been mostly destroyed. Things like the fencing they had put up and the traps they had placed all around were highly successful, and monster attacks had decreased rapidly. That's why they thought even on a day like this, when many of the adults were away from the village, things would be fine.
Yeah, I had no idea something like that would come flying. It was a monster that you wouldn't see around here, so I guess its nest must be quite far away.
There were still many more unknown monsters on Grand Pulse. It wasn't like Cocoon, which was thoroughly managed by Fal'Cie.
You should get those military guys to help us find the nest. It doesn't look like they're poisonous, so if you caught them while they're still hatching, you could use them for food.
The matured ones are pretty tough though, said LeBro, who laughed and shrugged her shoulders. It seemed she had already taken a knife to the monsters they had brought down and looked into it. Before that comes repairs to homes. Shall we strengthen the window frames while we're at it? Perhaps remembering the walls and windows broken by the aquatic monsters ramming into them, Godot frowned. As if that had been a sign, similar discussions on topics such as whether they should increase the number of traps around the settlement, or whether they should strengthen the nets in the open waters had started. It was normal that such ideas for improvement would be exchanged after they were attacked by monsters, or bad weather had caused damages.
Hey.
Serah spoke up decisively amidst the Nora members arguing over this and that.
If I'm going to say something, then it has to be now, she thought.
What's up, Serah?
The current Snow had forgotten that I had spoke to him about wanting to become a teacher.
Would he approve of it as he had before?
Even now, when we're in a far more savage place? I want to build a school.
It was a little different than saying, I want to be a teacher. She wanted to make a place for the children, somewhere that was a place for learning, but at the same time somewhere they could feel safe. A kind of place where there are friends, a teacher to protect them, and where knowledge and strength needed for living could be obtained.
Today, when we had the children take shelter, I understood that we can't just have adults protecting them. We have to teach the children ways to protect themselves. Snow said we should have left more people behind, as if it was their own oversight, but I don't think that's the case. The exploration of the remains of old civilizations is a job necessary to life here, so we should have made sure that the village wouldn't have insufficient protection in the first place. Where should they run if things look dangerous? Who should they tell? What should they do to protect those smaller than themselves while they run away? These are things we haven't taught them at all up until now.
Now that you mention it, I guess we haven't thought about running or anything either ourselves. If a monster shows up, we just kill it for the time being.
Well, we've been up to our eyes with just that until now. Everything else was on the back burner.
Even the matter of the children's studies had been put off. But the children here are former residents of Bodom and subjects of the Purge, meaning it had been about a year since they'd done some decent studying. Serah explained that they couldn't postpone the school life of the children any longer.
But rather than having an actual school, we've only got the numbers for a cram school. For now, anyway.
About this much, said Snow, who opened his arms and smiled. Serah panicked at his gesture. She hastily thought she had to find something else to talk about. She didn't want the others to see she was agitated. Hold on a minute, boss. Before Serah could change the subject, Godot offered up a matter to discuss. Let's leave the fun of a huge school till later. How about just the number of classrooms we'd use for now? Even if we borrow space somewhere for now, the houses here are pretty small, right? Both the shelter and the houses by the beach were by no means spacious. Though the children were few in number, Godot knew more than anyone that they weren't built to be suitable classrooms.
I think the outdoors would be good for now. We've got an open area in front of Mackie's workshop, don't we? I was thinking we could use that.
That place was quiet, and on top of that, it had no lack of places of refuge for emergencies. If something happened, they could just run inside the cave again. Normally, adults would be working the fields at places they could run to quickly. On top of that, Mackie is testing all sorts of machines and weapons, so if something happens, you could just have him let you use them. Or is that no good? Mackie crossed his arms and started to think. Maybe he was thinking if the children were making a racket right in front of the workshop, it would be noisy.
We're not asking you to lend us your workshop, so work with us here.
It was Lebreau who came to the rescue.
Clean up all the tools you were using. It's your fault they're lying all over the place.
Huh? Why me?
When Mackie was working next to Nora House, it was something Lebreau told them off about all the time. As Mackie apologized with a, "Sorry," Serah couldn't help but laugh.
I'll tell the children that under no circumstances should they go inside the workshop, okay?
If even Serah is willing to say that much, then I don't really mind.
Snow placed his hands on Serah's shoulder with a, "Then it's settled."
Miss Farron, when are you starting school?
Asked Huge, who raised his hand like a student.
It probably wouldn't be tomorrow, but as soon as possible. I want to do even just the evacuation drills before the events of today are forgotten.
Then we'll have to tell everyone first thing tomorrow morning.
Huge, who had a way with people, was counselor and liaison for New Bodom's residents. If there was something the slightest bit troubling or worrying, they'd bring it up to Huge before anyone else. On the other hand, if there was something that everyone had to know, Huge would go door to door to tell them. That way you could convey the right information, and above all you could see how people were responding and what they thought right away.
A school teacher, huh? It's very Serah-like, isn't it?
Snow's words were the exact same as in the memory only Serah had. His earlier gesture of opening his arms to indicate "about this much" was the same too. Snow didn't know of that conversation, yet he still smiled and gave Serah strength all the time. Even if their memories were different, Snow didn't change. As she felt tears welling up in her eyes, Serah blinked rapidly in haste.
I won't cry anymore, because I've decided to become a teacher and teach the children lots of things, like Lightning had done for me. So I won't continue to stand still.
Serah smiled and nodded at Lebreau, who teasingly said, "Give it your best, Miss Farron."